If a single word leaves your mouth before I say so, I will make sure you never breathe again." Leo Rossi, the most cold-blooded mafia boss in the city, leaned over the desk. His breath smelled of expensive cigars and cold metal. He didn't just say it, he carved the threat into the air. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a heavy, solid gold coin and slammed it onto Maya's keyboard. "This is your payment for your silence," Leo hissed. "You are my lead accountant, not my advisor. From this second on, you are a ghost with a calculator." Maya looked at the gold coin. Then she looked at the computer screen behind him. A massive red alert was flashing in the corner of the code. A digital trap was closing in on his $200 million offshore account. Maya opened her mouth to warn him. She pointed a trembling finger at the monitor. "Quiet," Leo roared, slamming his fist into the mahogany wall next to her head. "What did I just say? Not one word." Maya snapped her mouth shut. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. She knew something he didn't. She knew that in exactly 60 minutes, his entire fortune would vanish into thin air. But he had just ordered her to watch it happen in total silence. 1 hour earlier, the Rossi headquarters was buzzing with energy. Leo Rossi had just returned from a secret meeting with investors from overseas. He was arrogant, laughing and pouring glasses of vintage wine for his bodyguards. He thought he had just made the deal of the century. "Maya, move the $200 million into the New Horizon Fund immediately," he commanded, throwing a crumpled piece of paper with a routing number at her. Maya started typing, but her fingers froze. As the lead accountant, she saw patterns other people missed. She noticed a tiny glitch in the routing number, a black hole script. It was a piece of malicious code designed to swallow money and erase the digital trail forever. "Sir, there's a problem with the—" Maya began. That was when Leo snapped. He hated being corrected, especially by a girl he had rescued from the slums. He thought she was trying to show off her intelligence to make him look small. That was when he gave the order that would cost him his empire. The clock on the wall ticked. 50 minutes left. Leo sat on his leather throne, bragging about the yachts and islands he was going to buy. Maya sat at her desk, her lips pressed together so hard they turned white. Suddenly, Leo's phone buzzed. It was a text from his younger sister, Elena. She was the only person in the world Leo actually cared about. The message flashed on the screen. "Elena, I'm at the bank. The New Horizon Fund asked for my personal security code to verify the family's safety. Should I give it?" Leo started to type yes. Maya's eyes widened. If Elena gave that code, it wasn't just the money that would be gone. That code was the master key to the Rossi family's literal safety. It controlled the GPS trackers in their cars and the electronic locks on their mansion. Maya stood up, reaching for a pen to write a desperate note. Leo looked up, his eyes turning into dark slits of rage. He pulled out his silenced pistol and pointed it directly at Maya's forehead. "Sit down," he whispered, the sound more terrifying than a shout, "and put that pen away. If you move again, you won't live to see the sunset. Do you understand?" Maya sat down. She watched as he hit send. She watched as the investors on her monitor started a final countdown. But then she noticed something in the reflection of the window. A black van was pulling up to the front gate. On the side of the van was a logo she recognized. It wasn't the police. It was the logo of the very investors Leo just gave his money to. They weren't just stealing his money, they were coming for his life. And Maya was the only one who knew they were already inside the building. Before we continue the story, I really want to take a moment to ask you guys if you could please subscribe to the channel. We are trying to get to the 1,000 subscribers and I need your help. So if you do enjoy this content, leave a like and drop a comment. And if you could subscribe as well, that will be really appreciated. The $200 million was gone. On Maya's screen, the balance flashed $0.00 in a sickening neon red. But Leo didn't see it. He was too busy laughing, raising a glass of whiskey to his men. "To the future!" Leo toasted, his back to the window. Maya sat frozen. In the reflection of the glass, she saw the black van doors slide open. 3 men in tactical gear stepped out, holding suppressed submachine guns. They didn't jump the fence. They used a remote. Leo's sister had sent the security code, and now the front gate was welcoming his executioners. Maya's throat itched. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tackle him to the floor, but the gold coin sat on her desk, a heavy reminder of the never speak again order. Leo's pistol was still sitting right next to his hand. If she made a sound, he would pull the trigger before the assassins even reached the door. 10 minutes earlier, the office had been filled with the sound of Leo's arrogance. "You see, Maya," Leo had sneered, pointing at the transaction pending screen. "This is how real men make money. We don't overthink. We don't worry about glitches like you do. You're just a girl who's good with numbers. I'm the one who owns the world." Maya had watched his finger hover over the send button on his phone. She had reached out, her hand trembling, trying to grab his wrist. Leo had backhanded her across the face. The blow sent her spinning into her chair, her lip bleeding. "I told you to be a ghost," Leo whispered, his voice dangerously low. "The next time you touch me, I'll send you back to the gutter I found you in." Maya wiped the blood from her mouth. She looked at the gold coin. It wasn't just a payment anymore. It was a tombstone. She realized then that Leo Rossi didn't want an accountant. He wanted a mirror that only showed him what he wanted to see. The elevators in the hallway chimed. Ding! Leo's bodyguards turned, expecting the coffee delivery. Instead, the doors opened to reveal a wall of smoke and lead. The suppressed gunfire sounded like angry hornets. One by one, Leo's men dropped to the floor without even drawing their weapons. Leo spun around, his face turning from triumph to pure horror. He lunged for his gun, but he tripped over the body of his fallen captain. "What is this?" Leo screamed, scrambling backward toward Maya's desk. "Maya, call security! Call the police! Use the emergency override!" Maya didn't move. She didn't reach for the phone. She didn't even blink. Leo grabbed her by the shoulders, shaking her violently. "I said call for help. Why aren't you saying anything? Why are the gates open?" Maya slowly reached down and picked up the gold coin. She held it up to his face, her eyes cold and empty. She pointed to her lips, then to the computer screen. Leo looked at the monitor. He saw the $0.00. He saw the security overridden by external user Elena Rossi message. He realized in that heartbeat that his money was gone, his sister was a hostage, and his house was no longer a fortress. "Talk to me," Leo begged, the sound of the assassin's boots thudding closer in the hallway. "I'll give you anything. Just tell me how to lock the doors." Suddenly, the office door blew off its hinges. A man in a white suit, the lead investor, stepped inside. He wasn't looking at Leo, he was looking at Maya. "Well done, Maya," the man said, lowering his weapon. "The transfer is complete. You can speak now. Tell the boss why he's about to die." Leo Rossi stared at the man in the white suit, then back at Maya. His jaw dropped, and the pistol fell from his shaking hand. The room was silent, except for the rhythmic beep of the empty bank account on the screen. "Maya?" Leo whispered, his voice cracking. You know this man?" The man in the white suit, Victor, stepped over a fallen bodyguard and smiled. He pulled a chair out and sat down as if he owned the building. She doesn't just know me, Leo. She created me. Do you really think a math prodigy from the slums just happened to find her way into your inner circle? Maya didn't scream. She didn't cry. She slowly stood up, smoothing out her skirt. She looked at Leo, the man who had silenced her, hit her, and treated her like a tool. For the first time in an hour, she drew a deep breath. "The order was to never speak again, Leo," Maya said, her voice calm and chillingly melodic. "But you forgot one thing. Silence isn't just a punishment, it's a mask." 2 years ago, before Maya ever stepped foot in the Rossi headquarters, she sat in a dim basement watching a video of Leo Rossi ordering the destruction of her father's small business. Her father hadn't been a criminal, he was just a man who refused to pay protection money. When the Rossi family burned the shop, they burned Maya's world. She didn't go to the police. She knew the police were in Leo's pocket. Instead, she used her genius to build a new identity. She made herself the perfect accountant. She waited for Leo to find her. "I knew you would hire me," Maya said, walking toward the window. "I knew your ego would love the idea of saving a girl from the gutter, and I knew that eventually your pride would make you stop listening to me." You set up the New Horizon Fund?" Leo gasped, his face turning a sickly shade of gray. "I didn't just set it up. I wrote the code. I sent the invitation to your investors. I even waited for the exact moment you told me to shut up to trigger the final transfer. Every time you insulted me, you made it easier to press enter." Leo scrambled toward his safe, hidden behind a painting. "I still have the diamonds. I still have the emergency cash." "Try the code, Leo," Victor laughed, checking his watch. Leo punched in the numbers, the secret code only he knew. Error. He tried again. Error. "I changed the locks the moment you slammed that gold coin on my desk. While you were bragging to your men about being a king, I was rewriting your kingdom." Suddenly, the large TV on the wall flickered to life. It showed a live feed of Leo's mansion. Elena, his sister, was sitting on a sofa, sipping tea. She didn't look like a victim. She looked relaxed. She looked at the camera and waved. "Elena!" Leo screamed at the screen. "Run! They've taken the money!" "She can't hear you, Leo," Maya said, standing next to Victor. "And she isn't a victim. Elena was the first one I talked to. She's been tired of living in your shadow for years. She's the one who gave me the master security codes." Leo collapsed to his knees. He had lost his money, his safe, and his family. But Victor's smile suddenly faded as he looked at Maya. "The transfer is done, Maya, just like we agreed," Victor said, his tone turning sharp. "But you didn't tell me about the third account, the one that just moved $50 million to an untraceable server in Switzerland. Where's my cut?" "I told you I was an accountant, Victor. I never said I was your partner." Outside, the sound of a different siren began to wail. Not the police, not the mafia. It was the tax enforcement agency, and they were coming for everyone in the room. The blue and red lights of the tax enforcement agency, TEA, swirled against the office windows like a digital storm. The sirens were deafening, a high-pitched scream that signaled the end of the Rossi Empire. Victor, the man in the white suit, grabbed Maya by the arm, his fingers digging into her skin. His face was no longer calm. "You called the feds? Are you insane? We're all trapped in here." Maya looked down at his hand, then back into his eyes. She didn't flinch. "I didn't call them to arrest us, Victor. I called them to catalog you. They think this is a massive money laundering bust. While they're busy seizing the empty safes and the broken furniture, I'm the only one who can walk out of here invisible." Leo, still on his knees, let out a hysterical laugh. "She played you, Victor. She played both of us. There is no $50 million in Switzerland, is there, Maya? You just wanted to watch us tear each other apart before the handcuffs clicked shut." 15 minutes earlier, while the assassins were breaching the elevators, Maya had performed a digital ghost maneuver. As Leo was screaming at her to talk, her fingers had been flying across the keys under the desk. She wasn't just locking the safes, she was sending a massive, anonymous tip to the TEA. But she didn't send them her location. She sent them a trail of breadcrumbs leading to every single one of Victor's shell companies and every one of Leo's illegal warehouses. "Why the feds, Maya?" Victor had whispered as they heard the first sirens. "We could have disappeared." "Because men like you never disappear," Maya had replied, her voice as sharp as a diamond. "If I just stole the money, you would hunt me. But if I turn you into the most wanted financial criminals in the country, you'll be too busy fighting lawyers to ever look for a girl from the slums." She had planned the arrival of the authorities to the exact second. She knew the TEA would take exactly 7 minutes to breach the front gate, the gate she had conveniently left open. Victor leveled his gun at Maya's head. "Give me the Switzerland password, now, or I'll make sure the feds find a body instead of an accountant." Maya reached into her pocket. She didn't pull out a phone or a flash drive. She pulled out the gold coin Leo had given her to buy her silence. "Do you want the password?" Maya asked. Suddenly, the overhead sprinklers roared to life, drenching everyone in freezing water. The office lights cut out, plunging the room into darkness. In the chaos, the heavy steel security shutters, the ones Leo used to hide his crimes, began to slam shut one by one, sealing the office off from the hallway. But the shutters weren't just closing to keep the feds out, they were closing to trap Victor and Leo inside the soundproof vault. "The password isn't a word, Victor," Maya's voice echoed through the dark, coming from the direction of the hidden service elevator. "It's a sound, the sound of a door locking." The heavy vault door hissed shut with a final echoing thud. Leo and Victor were trapped together in total darkness with $200 million missing and a small army of federal agents outside. Maya stood in the service elevator, her dry clothes in a bag, looking at her tablet. The screen didn't show a bank account in Switzerland. It showed a map of the city's underground drainage system, and at the end of the tunnel, a car was waiting. But when the car door opened on the screen, the person inside wasn't a driver. It was Leo's father, the old Don who was supposed to have died in prison 5 years ago. The air in the underground tunnel was thick with the smell of wet concrete and old secrets. Maya stepped out of the drainage pipe, her tablet still blowing in her hand. A black sedan sat idling in the shadows, its headlights cutting through the damp mist. The back window rolled down slowly. Maya expected a hitman. She expected a getaway driver. Instead, she saw a pair of eyes that looked exactly like Leo's, but with 50 years more coldness behind them. "You did well, Maya," the man said. His voice sounded like gravel grinding together. Maya's heart stopped. This was Silas Rossi, Leo's father, the man who supposedly died in a high-security prison hospital 5 years ago, the man whose death had allowed Leo to take the throne and burn Maya's father's shop. "You're alive," Maya whispered, her grip tightening on the $200 million tablet. "I am the one who taught you that silence is a weapon, child," Silas said, gesturing for her to get into the car. "Did you really think a girl from the slums could steal $200 million from a Rossi without the old king helping her turn the key?" 2 years ago, when Maya was first planning her revenge, she had received an anonymous letter. It contained the private encryption codes for Leo's most secret accounts. It contained the floor plans of the headquarters. She thought it was a rival family. She thought it was a lucky break. She never realized that the dead Don was using her to prune his own family tree. Leo was weak, Silas had written in those letters, though Maya hadn't known it was him. He was loud, he was arrogant, he cared more about being feared than being rich. He needed to be removed so the empire could be reborn. Maya realized the terrifying truth as the car sped away from the sirens. She hadn't been the master puppeteer. She had been the scalpel Silas Rossi used to cut out his own son. The $200 million wasn't just revenge for her father. It was the startup capital for Silas to reclaim his throne from the shadows. Silas looked at the tablet in Maya's lap. "The money is in the account I gave you." Maya nodded, but her eyes darted to the car door. "Every cent. Leo and Victor are trapped in the vault. The feds will find them, and the Rossi name will be dragged through the mud while you disappear." Silas smiled, a terrifying sight. "Not exactly. The Rossi name needs a face, a clean face, a face that the public trusts, a face like yours, Maya." He reached into his coat and pulled out a legal document. It wasn't a bank transfer. It was a power of attorney and a marriage license. "Leo is going to prison for life, and in his absence, his loyal wife will take over the legitimate side of the business. You aren't going to the slums, Maya. You're going back to that office. You're going to lead the company as my puppet, or the feds will find a different tip in their inbox tomorrow morning, one that links the $200 million heist directly to you." Maya looked at the golden coin still in her pocket. She had traded one master for a much more dangerous one. But then she noticed a small detail on Silas's wrist. He was wearing a medical bracelet from the prison, and on it the status light was flashing critical. The old king wasn't reclaiming his throne because he wanted power. He was reclaiming it because he was dying, and he had a final dark purpose for Maya that had nothing to do with money. The car roared through the dark city, leaving the echoes of sirens behind. Inside the leather interior, the silence was heavier than the vault Maya had just escaped. "You think you're a chess player, don't you, Maya?" Silas Rossi whispered, his eyes gleaming like cold obsidian. He pointed to the medical bracelet on his wrist, which was now pulsing a frantic neon red. "I am a dying man. I don't care about $200 million. I care about the next 50 years. I care about a Rossi bloodline that actually deserves to rule." Maya gripped the tablet, her knuckles white. "You destroyed Leo. You destroyed your own son. Why should I believe you care about anything?" Silas leaned in, the smell of medicine and old paper filling the small space. "I didn't destroy him. I just stopped protecting him. But you are the daughter I never had, because you are the daughter of the only man I ever truly respected." He pulled a dusty, yellowed photograph from his pocket. It showed a younger Silas standing next to a man with a kind smile, Maya's father. But in the photo, her father wasn't wearing an apron in a shop. He was wearing a high-ranking Rossi military uniform. 15 years ago, Maya's father was the ghost of the Rossi family, the chief strategist who kept the peace. He was Silas's best friend, but Silas had grown paranoid. He feared the strategist would take the throne. "I didn't order the fire that killed your father's business," Silas said, his voice cracking. "Leo did that. Leo wanted to prove he was a tough guy by hurting the man I loved most. I went to prison to pay for my crimes, but I let Leo think I was dead so I could watch him fail. I wanted to see if he was smart enough to stop a girl who had every reason to kill him." Maya felt a wave of nausea. Her father hadn't been a victim of a random mafia crime. He was a piece of a legacy she never knew she belonged to. Her entire life, the math, the patterns, the drive for revenge, wasn't just her own. It was the strategist's blood calling out for justice. "Your father saved my life a dozen times," Silas wheezed, clutching his chest as the medical bracelet turned a steady, alarming purple. "I am giving you the $200 million and the Rossi name because I owe him a debt that can only be paid by giving his daughter the world." The car came to a sudden halt in front of a private airfield. A small jet was waiting, its engines humming. "The marriage license," Maya said, looking at the paper in her hand. "If I sign this and Leo is in prison, I become the legal head of the Rossi Corporation, but I won't be your puppet." Silas knew, "And that's why I'm not coming with you." He handed her a second tablet. "The TEA isn't just at the office. They are at the harbor, the warehouses, and the mansions, but they are looking for Leo's signatures. This tablet contains the kill switch for the entire Rossi underworld. One button, and every illegal operation dissolves. You can walk away with the clean money and the clean name, or you can become the new queen." Suddenly, a heavy thud sounded on the roof of the car. The glass shattered. A man in tactical gear, the same type Victor used, swung through the window. But it wasn't Victor. It was Elena, Leo's sister. She wasn't the relaxed woman from the TV feed. She was covered in tactical grease, her eyes burning with a different kind of rage. "Did you really think I'd let a dosed and a dying old man steal my inheritance?" Elena hissed, leveling a weapon at Maya's heart. "You gave me the codes to trap Leo, Maya. I didn't give them to you so you could take my crown." The private jet roared, its engine screaming as it began its sprint down the runway. Inside the cabin, the gravity pulled everyone back into their leather seats, but the tension was pulling them toward a bloody end. Elena Rossi, the sister Leo thought was a helpless flower, stood in the aisle with a submachine gun aimed at Maya's head. Her face was splashed with the blood of the driver she had just eliminated to get on board. "You're good with numbers, Maya, but you forgot one thing," Elena hissed over the thunder of the takeoff. "In this family, we don't follow leaders, we replace them. You were just my tool to get rid of my brother. Now you're just a witness who needs to be silenced." Maya looked at the cockpit door. The pilot was slumped over. The plane was accelerating, but no one was steering. They were a 3-ton bullet traveling at 150 miles per hour, and the runway was running out. 10 minutes earlier, at the edge of the airfield, Silas Rossi had collapsed. His medical bracelet was a steady, flatline red. "Go," he had whispered to Maya, shoving the kill switch tablet into her hands. "The jet is pre-programmed for Switzerland. Don't look back." Maya had scrambled up the stairs, but she hadn't noticed the shadow following her. She hadn't noticed that the hostage video of Elena was a loop. Elena hadn't been sitting on a sofa. She had been in the hangar, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "I gave you the codes, Maya," Elena had shouted as she breached the door. "I let you think you were the genius, but I'm a Rossi. I don't give away $200 million to an accountant from the slums." As the plane began its takeoff roll, Maya realized the trap. Elena didn't want the clean Rossi name. She wanted the $200 million and the illegal empire intact. She needed Maya to unlock the final encrypted layer of the kill switch tablet before she threw her out of the plane at 10,000 feet. The jet lurched. The nose lifted off the ground, tilting the world at a sharp angle. "The password, Maya! Type it in!" Elena screamed, bracing herself against a seat. Maya looked at the tablet. Then she looked at the GPS indicator on the wall. They were overshooting the runway. In 5 seconds, they would hit the perimeter fence and explode. I'm not typing a password, Elena, Maya said, her voice eerily calm as she calculated the wind speed and the weight of the fuel. I'm changing the flight path. Maya's fingers flew across the screen. She didn't unlock the money. Instead, she accessed the plane's flight management system. If you shoot me, the autopilot stays locked on the crash coordinates I just entered. In 3 seconds, this plane becomes a coffin, but if you drop the gun, I'll engage the emergency lift protocol. Elena hesitated. She was a killer, but she wasn't a martyr. She lowered the gun an inch. In that split second, the plane hit a massive bird strike. The right engine exploded in a ball of fire. The jet spun wildly, the cabin lights flickering out. Through the window, Maya saw a fleet of black SUVs chasing them down the runway. They weren't feds, they were Victor's men who had escaped the building. "They're not here for the money, Elena," Maya yelled as the plane skidded off the tarmac and into the grass. "They're here because they think we both have the codes, and they're not taking prisoners." The smell of jet fuel and scorched grass filled the cabin as the plane groaned, tilted at a dangerous 45-degree angle. Outside, the headlights of Victor's SUVs circled the wreckage like sharks in dark water. "Give me the gun, Elena," Maya whispered, her hand outstretched. "You can't hit a target while your shoulder is dislocated, and I can calculate the wind resistance for the long shot. If they get to the door, we both die." Elena hissed in pain, clutching her arm. She looked at the woman she had tried to kill just 60 seconds ago. She looked at the SUVs closing the circle. With a curse, she slid the submachine gun across the floor to Maya. "If you miss, I'm killing you myself," Elena growled. Maya didn't miss. She didn't even look through the sights. She looked at the reflection in the polished chrome of the galley. She timed the rhythm of the SUV's tires on the gravel. She pulled the trigger once, twice, 3 times. The lead SUV's tire exploded. The vehicle flipped, a massive ball of fire lighting up the runway. The other cars screeched to a halt. Maya wasn't just shooting, she was using ballistic geometry to create a wall of fire between them and the assassins. 5 minutes earlier, the jet had belly-flopped into the marshland at the end of the runway. The impact had been bone-shattering. Maya had woken up with her ears ringing. She saw Elena pinned under a fallen luggage rack. The kill switch tablet was cracked, but the screen was still glowing. "Why didn't you leave me?" Elena had asked, her voice trembling as Maya used a metal bar to pry the rack off her legs. "You had the codes. You had the emergency exit." "Because I'm an accountant, Elena," Maya had said, her eyes scanning the dark perimeter. "And the math doesn't work if I'm alone. Victor has 30 men. I have 12 bullets. You have the Rossi combat training. We are the only equation that results in survival." They had crawled to the back of the plane just as Victor's voice boomed over a megaphone from the darkness. "Maya, Elena, I know you're in there. Give me the Swiss codes and I'll let the feds take you alive. Otherwise, I'm burning the plane with you inside." Victor wasn't waiting for an answer. A red laser dot danced across the back of Maya's head. A sniper was positioned on top of the airport control tower. "He's not going to wait," Maya whispered. "Elena, do you still have the backup security code for the Rossi warehouses, the ones near the harbor?" Elena nodded, confused. "Yeah, but those are miles away. Why does that matter now?" Maya pointed to the kill switch tablet. "I'm not just using the tablet to hide money. I'm using it to overload the power grid. If I trigger a surge in the harbor warehouses, it will create a massive electromagnetic pulse through the city's old copper lines. It will fry every electronic device within a 2-mile radius. That includes the sniper's night vision," Elena realized, a dark grin spreading across her face. "And Victor's car ignitions. We'll be in the dark, but so will they." Exactly, Maya said, her finger hovering over the execute button. But there's a catch. The EMP will also kill the jet's emergency oxygen and the electronic locks on this door. We'll have exactly 60 seconds to run before we're trapped in a vacuum. Maya hit the button. The city lights in the distance flickered and died. The world went pitch black. But as Maya and Elena kicked open the manual emergency hatch, they heard something that made their blood run cold. It wasn't Victor's men. It was the sound of a heavy military helicopter descending from the clouds. And the markings on the side weren't for the feds or the mafia. They were for the Global Bank of Settlements, the people who actually owned the $200 million. The massive black helicopter hovered over the burning jet, its rotors kicking up a hurricane of dust and snow. It didn't have a logo or a name. It was a ghost machine. A man in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit stepped out of the side door, suspended by a tactical cable. He landed on the grass with the grace of a predator. He didn't look at Victor's dead mercenaries or the burning SUV. He looked directly at Maya. "Miss Maya," the man said, his voice amplified by a headset, "I am Mr. Thorne from the Global Bank of Settlements. You have something that belongs to our clients. And I don't mean the $200 million. That was just the shipping fee." Maya clutched the cracked tablet to her chest. Beside her, Elena Rossi was reloading her weapon, her face pale. "The Bank of Settlements doesn't exist," Elena whispered. "They're a myth. They're the ones who handle the money for entire governments." "We are very real, Miss Rossi," Thorne replied, signaling his team of silent, masked operatives to surround the wreckage. "And we aren't here for the cash. We're here for the ledger hidden inside the code of that $200 million transfer. The ledger that contains the names of every politician, judge, and general your father ever bribed." 30 minutes earlier, when Maya was first stealing the money from Leo's office, she had noticed a secondary file attached to the transaction. It was a ghost file, a massive chunk of encrypted data that didn't behave like currency. It was hidden in the white space of the digital transfer. She had assumed it was just a Rossi family secret. "I see the patterns, Thorne," Maya had realized as she looked at the code while hiding in the car with Silas. "This isn't just a list of names. It's a key. It's the digital access to the world's secret dark funds. Silas didn't want the $200 million. He wanted to use me to move this ledger out of the Rossi vault so the shadow bank wouldn't know he still had it." Silas Rossi hadn't been a dying man trying to save his legacy. He had been a desperate man trying to sell a weapon to the highest bidder, and Maya was the only one who could unlock the safety on that weapon. Thorne stepped closer, ignoring the gun Elena was pointing at him. "Give us the tablet, Maya. We will give you a new life, a new name, and enough money to buy your own country. But if you keep it, you are no longer a witness. You are an enemy of the global order." Maya looked at the tablet. She saw the kill switch she had used to trigger the EMP, but she saw something else, a third option she hadn't noticed before. The ledger wasn't just a list, it was a live stream. If she pressed one specific sequence of numbers, the names wouldn't go to Thorne and they wouldn't stay with the Rossis. They would be uploaded to every major news outlet on the planet simultaneously. "The math doesn't add up, Thorne," Maya said, her voice steady even as the helicopter spotlight blinded her. "If I give this to you, the world stays the same. The people who burned my father's shop stay in power. The people who pay you stay in the shadows." "Don't do it, Maya," Elena hissed, her finger on the trigger. "If you upload that, the Rossi name is erased forever. We'll have nothing." "Exactly," Maya whispered. Suddenly, a shot rang out, but it didn't come from Elena or Thorne's team. It came from the darkness of the tree line. Victor was still alive. He was crawling through the mud, a sniper rifle in his hands. He didn't want the money anymore. He didn't want the ledger. He wanted revenge for the vault Maya had trapped him in. The bullet hit the tablet in Maya's hand, shattering the screen into 1,000 pieces of glass. The tablet lay in the mud, a heap of twisted plastic and broken glass. Victor's bullet had found its mark, but he didn't have time to celebrate. Thorne's silent operatives moved like shadows, neutralizing Victor before he could fire a second shot. Thorne looked at the destroyed device, then at Maya. His face was a mask of cold fury. "You've destroyed the only copy of the ledger, Maya. You've just signed the death warrant for everyone who ever worked for the Rossi family. Without those names, we have no reason to let any of you live." Maya stood tall, her coat fluttering in the rotor wash of the helicopter. She wiped a smudge of blood from her cheek. "You're wrong, Thorne. I'm a math prodigy. I don't just read code, I memorize patterns. The 128-bit encryption, the routing numbers, the names of the dark fund owners, I saw them all before the screen broke." She tapped her temple. "It's all in here. And if you want it, you're going to have to listen to me very carefully." 1 hour earlier, as Maya sat in the back of Silas's car, she had used her silent witness technique. She hadn't just been looking at the money, she had been performing a mental snapshot. She knew the Rossi family liked to hide secrets in plain sight. Every bribe, every judge's name was tied to a specific mathematical constant. She had translated the entire ledger into a series of equations that only she could solve. "I knew someone would try to destroy the tablet," Maya had whispered to Elena as they braced for the crash. "That's why I didn't save the file. I became the file." Maya realized that Silas had been right about one thing. The Rossi name needed a face, but it didn't need a queen or a puppet. It needed a witness who couldn't be silenced by money or fear. Thorne stepped forward, his hand out. "Tell me the first 10 names, and I'll put you on that helicopter. We can rebuild the file together." Maya looked at Elena, who was standing by the wreckage, her gun lowered. Then she looked at the helicopter's high-frequency antenna. "I'll do you one better, Thorne," Maya said. She walked over to the helicopter's external communications panel. Because of the EMP she had triggered earlier, the secure lines were down, and the pilot was using an open-frequency emergency channel to talk to the bank. "I'm not giving the names to you," Maya said. She began to speak. She didn't whisper. She shouted. She recited names, bank account numbers, and dates of bribes. She spoke with the voice of a girl whose father's shop was burned. She spoke with the voice of the accountant who watched $200 million vanish. The emergency frequency wasn't just going to the bank. It was being picked up by every news station, every police scanner, and every radio enthusiast in 50 miles of radius. "Stop her!" Thorne screamed, but his men hesitated. If they killed her now, the broadcast would just end with her confession of her murder. Maya finished the last name, the name of the man who had ordered her father's death, Silas Rossi. "The silence is over," Maya said, her voice echoing across the runway. 6 months later. The Rossi headquarters is a museum now. Leo and Victor are sharing a cell in a federal prison. Elena Rossi has disappeared, rumored to be starting a new life under a different name in South America. Maya sits in a small, quiet library. She isn't wearing a silk suit or a gold coin. She is wearing a simple sweater. She is teaching math to children from the slums, showing them how to see the patterns in the world. A man in a suit walks in. He looks like a lawyer, but he has the eyes of a wolf. He places a heavy, solid gold coin on her table. "Phase 2 is starting, Maya," the man whispers. "The shadow bank hasn't forgotten the names you didn't say." Maya doesn't look up. She doesn't even blink. She picks up the gold coin and hands it to a little boy sitting next to her. "Buy yourself some lunch, Tommy." Then she looks at the man. "I told you once before, I'm not an advisor, I'm a witness, and a witness only speaks when the truth is ready." As the man leaves, Maya opens her notebook. On the first page is a complex equation that describes the exact movement of the global bank's remaining funds. The story isn't over. The math is just getting started. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe. Also share with someone who needs it. Now the moral teachings of the story. This story isn't just about money, fast cars, or secret codes. It is a mirror reflecting the choices we make when we feel powerless. Here are the 3 most important lessons from the journey of the silent witness. 1. Silence is a tool, not a cage. Leo thought he was punishing Maya by ordering her to never speak again. He thought that by taking her voice, he took her power. The moral: your value doesn't come from how loud you speak, but how much you observe. Maya used her silence to listen, to learn the enemy's patterns, and to build a plan while everyone else was too busy bragging. Don't let people mistake your quietness for weakness. 2. Arrogance is the ultimate blind spot. Leo lost $200 million because he believed he was the smartest person in the room. He looked at Maya and only saw a girl from the slums. He stopped looking at the screen because he was too busy looking in the mirror. The moral: the moment you think you are untouchable is the moment you become most vulnerable. Respect everyone, regardless of their status, because the person you look down on today might be the one holding the keys to your future tomorrow. 3. Justice is better than revenge. Maya could have taken the $200 million and disappeared to a private island. She could have become the new queen and continued the cycle of crime. Instead, she chose to broadcast the truth to the world. The moral: revenge only satisfies the heart for a moment, but justice changes the world forever. Maya realized that the only way to truly win was to break the system that killed her father, not just join it. True power is the ability to walk away from the gold coin and keep your integrity. A final thought for the audience. In the world of the Rossi family, everyone was a player trying to win the game. Maya was the only one who realized that if the game is rigged, the only way to win is to stop playing by their rules.